All right. So in the last lesson, we looked at different ways to categorize scripts. Okay. Now we're going to be talking about because towards the last class, I hinted at Christopher Nolan and some of his films, and I said you should watch a lot of films Christopher Nolan has made. And I was about to get into the content of what we're speaking about, but I decided to chill a little. Okay, where's my head? There you are. That's my head. Yeah. So just like when you were in school and you were learning chemistry, physics, biology, even music, they teach you about the great people who've gone ahead of you to create stuff in that industry. Okay, and we're doing something like that with script writing. We are coming from somewhere. We're not orphans. Okay, it's not enough to watch movies. On your quest to understanding how movies work, it's advisable that you look under the hood. Where is my pointer? Yeah, let's get it. There's a pointer there. Okay, reading screenplays or movies you've seen intimate you with how the words that give life to the memorable movies were crafted. I mentioned in a previous lesson that writers read a lot, writers watch a lot of movies, and writers read a lot of scripts. You should endeavor to watch movies, because movie watching for you from now going forward should be a exercise in education. You shouldn't watch films just for relaxation and entertainment. Do, but also watch movies for educational purposes to learn. When you watch a film, go and find the script of that film and read it as well. And there will be a transformative experience. That's essentially what we're saying here. Okay. Some films to watch. Any good screenwriter should keep in mind. Let me change this pointer to a highlighter. Good. Any good screenwriter should keep in mind the work already done by the masters of these crafts throughout film history. Okay? You should take notes of outstanding accomplishments in such works, the underlying twists and turns, and everything that makes the film so groundbreaking. So the following is a list of such films worth learning from. Okay? One film I would recommend. So essentially, this is a recommended list of films to watch. As a scriptwriter, there's something it will do to the way you view films. Okay, so you have Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino, The Godfather Part 1 and 2 by Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola, Taxi Driver by Paul Schrader, Forrest Gump, written by Eric Roth and Winston Groom, and then there's Die Hard, the original. Die Hard with a Vengeance is also good, which is part 2 of Die Hard. There's Die Hard 1, 2, 3. I think there's a 4. By the time they got to part 3, it has become garbage. But Die Hard, the original Die Hard, and Die Hard with a Die Hard with a Vengeance. I think that was made in 1998. Yes. Die Hard with a Vengeance was 1998. Yeah. Great films. You should watch them. And then The Conjuring. This is a horror film. By the way, I didn't even talk about the genres of the film. Just watch them. Okay. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is from the what's his name now? What's your name, Mr. Man? Looking at Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones series, Raiders of the Lost Ark, very good film too. Others are Memento, The Dark Knight, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is the best trilogy ever made. When we say trilogy, what we mean is a film that has part 1, part 2, and part 3, a trilogy. Lord of the Rings is the best trilogy ever made, hands down. Dark Knight 2, try. Other trilogies include things like the Matrix trilogy. Where's this guy with the knife? Vampire film. I've forgotten the name of the film. Gone Girl, Sin City, Inception, Black Swan. Great films to watch. Now, we come to here. Yeah? Icons and great persons of every industry. Yeah. If we talk about music, the greatest composers of all time, you have Vivaldi, Beethoven, Debussy, Sebastian Bach. I'm not done. Sebastian Bach, etc. And then, as it concerns music, you have Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Beyonce, the Beatles. Okay, and local here, Davido. of course, this list was made in the like 10 years ago, so you can understand. And the same with sports, from Messi to what's this lady who's playing tennis to the fastest man alive. And then football, if you're a football fan, from Pele to Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, CR7, and the list goes on. These are famous scientists, famous philosophers, Plato, Socrates. Every industry has their greats, people who have come ahead, people who have done great things that you should study their works. Same with script writing. So here are some great script writers. Okay, Francis Ford Coppola, he made The Godfather. On the screen are some of the works that they have done. For brevity and for time's sake, you can pause the video to read the lists of films on the screen as I go through the slides. Okay, so Francis Ford Coppola, you have the Coen brothers, Ethan Coen and Joel Coen. They did The Big Lebowski, Fargo, No Country for Old Men. Quentin Tarantino, one of the greatest filmmakers ever. Yet, his films, if you watch them, you might not connect, but his films are very, very great. He did Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, etc. You have Woody Allen, yeah, known for Manhattan, Midnight in Paris, Billy Wilder. Who else is there? Robert Town. He wrote Chinatown, Mission Impossible, the original Mission Impossible. William Goldman. He wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, one of the greatest films. Yeah, and you also have Charlie Kaufman. A little recent, he wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, etc. And so that it doesn't look like it's only men, you have Nora Ephron. She wrote When Harry Met Sally. You've got Mail, etc. And there's Ernest Lehman, who wrote North by Northwest and The Sound of Music. Sound of Music. Sound of Music. I will not say anymore. Then you have M. Night Shyamalan. He writes thrillers, horror films, etc. The Sixth Sense. Okay. And then more recent times, there's Jordan Peele. He wrote Get Out, Candyman. What's the newest film he made recently? I've forgotten the title of his recent films. By the way, you will notice that these slides were put together in 2020, so you don't say a little. This particular slide, not all the slides will be using for the class, just this particular set. When you see these green colored background slides, they are from 2020. Okay, but they are just as relevant as ever. These are other top script writers who you should pay attention to. The Wachowski brothers, they wrote the Matrix trilogy and others. Now, so that it doesn't look like we're only looking at foreign filmmakers, here are a list of Nollywood writers who have also excelled in their craft. Amaka Igwe, though she's late now, she wrote Checkmate, Fuji House of Commotion, Rattlesnake, Violated, etc. Kemi Adesoye, she was the writer for Figurine, Phone Swap. She was the head writer for Tinsel. There's MME Song, of Royal Arts Academy. Okay, here are some of the films she's written. Dami Elebe, she wrote Skinny Girl in Transit, The Men's Club, and Far From Home, that was on Netflix. Ishaya Bako, he wrote Road to Yesterday, and he was a co-writer for Lion Heart. So here's a list of some top Nollywood scriptwriters. Again, this list is a little old. We've had a lot of other writers emerge in the last 5-7 years since this. It's not 7 years, so this is 2025. Like the last 4-5 years since this list was compiled. So forgive us if some of your faves are not listed here. The goal is not to rub anybody on the bad side. It's just that the list is old. All right, but again, so that we don't lose the essence of the lesson, it is to know that some people came before us, and you can understudy some of their works to see how these things ought to play out. Moving on. Just a sec. This card. Okay. Oh shit. Okay. Um Now let's go to stories. Um we've done this definition of what a script is so many times, but the script is first about the story. Now we're beginning to ease slowly into what we do specifically. Story takes greater precedence over format. Format meaning how you format the script, you should learn that. Story being the content. So you have the container and the content. How you format the script is the container. The story itself you're telling is the content. And you need to have both content and container as a wrapper around the content for you to be able to sell your scripts. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at storytelling. What exactly is storytelling? Because our job as script writers is first of all to be a storyteller. And if you don't understand what storytelling is, what exactly are you doing? So let's look at the history of storytelling. Stories or narratives have been shared in every culture as a means of entertainment, education, cultural preservation, and for instilling moral values. Once upon a time, stories were told in villages and clans. That was how traditions was passed on. Before we could write, before we could record, you would have the village elder gather people together and tell them stories of what has been before. And that was how we passed on culture, tradition, history. Okay? This was the way people learned about their history, about their values, and about traditions. This is how they were passed down. As time progressed, writing was developed, and people began developing written literature. Yeah? Books, stories, and numerous other types of writings were created. Um, you should read Aesop's Fables if you've not, and you should read Dele Fagunwa's Ogboju Ode Ninu Igbo Orunmole, one of the best books on fantasy ever written. Um, and then we moved on to dramatizing written stories. Okay, this soon caught on as a way to better infuse entertainment with storytelling. So not only did we move from um, um, Tales by Moonlight when we couldn't write to books and novels and literature when we developed writing to stage when you could dramatize what has been written, and then with the advent of cinema and TV, this has taken storytelling to a whole new level because the experience for film is different from that of what has come before it. But I want you to imagine what happens in a day. The number of pages of books people read in a day, the number of plays that are performed and people watch in a day, the number of films that are displayed on cinemas and are watched every day or in private homes, the unending stream of TV, either reality TV, comedy, etc., that people consume on a daily basis, or 24 hours newspaper or news channels like CNN, broadcast news that people watch, or the number of bedtime stories that are told. We don't do that here, but then let's assume. Okay, or the celebrity gossip you find on the internet. Or is it the motivation either on TikTok, on YouTube, or in books that you find here and there? And then there's the personal generated content on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere else. The world now consumes films, novels, theater, and TV in such quantities and with such hunger that the story arts have become humanity's prime source of inspiration. I need you to read that line again. Story has become humanity's prime source of inspiration. People listen to stories more than they do every other thing combined now. People watch stories, read stories, consume content much more than they exercise, eat, work. This goes to show you that story is not only the most prolific art form today, but stories rival all other activities combined, meaning combined work, play, eating, exercise. Stories trump all of this. I mean, by sheer volume of what people consume. Okay? This is why so much of our life is spent inside of stories, whether it be movies, Okay, it is seen as some form of escapism, an escape from life, which brings us to why do people watch movies? Okay, why do people consume content? One is to escape and to relax. Movies offer a healthy break from reality, allowing people to temporarily switch off from their daily stress, yeah, and immerse themselves in another world. Another reason why people watch films, consume content generally, is for entertainment purposes. At the core, movies and stories are a major source of enjoyment, providing thrilling, funny, or captivating experiences that combat idle time. Again, stories can trigger powerful emotions. Yeah, laughter. So this is one other reason why people watch films, for catharsis, emotional release. So pause this video right now and go and research on the word catharsis. Catharsis is the fuel to the magic we do as script writers. Did you hear what I said? You need to know that word inside out. Catharsis. Okay? So stories can trigger powerful emotions, laughter, tears, fear, excitement. They provide a safe and controlled way to process or express feelings that might be difficult to release in real life. Another reason why people watch films is for inspiration or for motivation. Stories inspire, stories motivate. And this is my favorite: fantasy fulfillment and vicarious living. People want to see people do on the screen what they wish they could do. A temporary fulfillment of latent wishes and a psychological release of internal tension is why a lot of people love watching action films. They can't see. Has it ever happened to you before? Sincerely now. But somebody did something to you and you feel like just taking a gun and shoot that person. Has it ever crossed your mind before? Like if I knock something on your head, okay, it brings a lot of fulfillment when you watch somebody else on the screen knocking something on another person's head. There's a fulfillment it gives you because it's something you wish you could do for the mad people around you, but you can't. Is the reason because you might not know the reason why you enjoy certain things. It is because you wish you could do those things, you cannot, so you rather just fantasize about it by watching people do it on the screen. And it's one of the key reasons why people do stuff. Why does that matter to you? So that you can help people achieve their fantasies by writing stuff, yeah, that you know people wish they could do. E.g., I don't think I've seen a Nigerian film. Okay, even me, I'm laughing at this. I don't think I've seen a Nigerian film that has a threesome in it. Yet you'll be surprised at how many Nigerians fantasize about threesomes. Such that if there was a film that had that in it, it would be one extra reason why people would want to watch that film. I'm not saying it should be done practically in the film. No, I'm just... Okay, I don't even know why I brought that up. Moving on. All right. Another reason why people watch movies is for social connection and bonding. The act of going to a cinema and sharing a film with a loved one, or sitting at home and watching a film with there's something about the connection and the bonding. Yeah, is an extra reason why people watch movies. But actually, story isn't just a flight from reality, but a vehicle that helps us on our search for reality. Our best effort to make sense out of the madness of existence. In other words, relatability. When you watch a movie or you see a story and you see other people go through stuff that you're going through, there's something it does to your mind. That relatability is what makes people continue to watch. When you realize that you're not alone in this world, you fall in love and your heart is broken, and then you're watching a film about a heartbreak, it just validates your experience as a human being. It helps you make a sense of the madness you just went through. I don't know if I'm speaking to someone. Summary: your film should not be just imaginary and fantastical. It is okay to write films and stories about everyday things that happens to people. In fact, it is the best form of storytelling. Writing stories about everyday things that happens to everyday people, but written specifically for the screen, because there are ways you tell stories for the screen different from how you verbally tell a story, or how you write it in a novel, or how you dramatize it on um, on a stage. And that's what we're here to learn. But key is learn to tell everyday stories, relatable stories. May the story be with you. How did they do that hand? Is that? Where is it? May the story be with you. No, is this? Anyways, it's from Star Wars. See you in the next video.